Good morning, folks, and welcome back to my channel, High Tunnel and Field Tomato Production. Today is May the 13th, and I'm going to talk to you about my fertilizing program. As I said from the very beginning of these videos, is I want to show you what nobody else showed me. And getting the right amount of fertilizer on your tomatoes determines a lot about the success. I feel like I've been under fertilizing. I've never really had any sources that have given me kind of a program that I could sit down and know how much I wanted to add. So I went to a website. It's a University of Georgia website, and they do some tomato growing out there, of course, just like we do in Arkansas. So I was really glad to find a formula there. And what they do is they work on a 14-week schedule. Now, the tomatoes I'm growing, which is a Florida 7514, is a 72-day tomato. And I think I told you in one of my other videos that I raise these in 4-inch pots. And because of the size of the roots in those pots, the root mass, I'm going to be able to gain about a week. And I learned that actually from the university up in Missouri. So I don't like these little 1.5 by 1.5 cell tomato plants. That's fine for a lot of folks, but I'm showing you what I do and what has been successful for me. So I looked at their program and for the University of Georgia there and come up with some things I think is going to help me a lot, and I think it'll help you too to sit down and consider this. For a lot of folks, if you're a home gardener, you know, probably what you want to do is get you maybe some Miracle-Gro or some kind of water soluble and just add a tablespoon per plant per week. But I've got 160 plants in my tunnel, which I'm going to take you down a little while, show it to you. And so I need something a little bit better than that. Now, my soil test said that my soil this year needed 120 pounds of nitrogen, and that's for the whole season. So since I've got a 5% of an acre inside my tunnel, I did a little division there, and I need about 6 pounds of total nitrogen. That's 100% nitrogen, and that's going to be for the season. Now, if you want to extend your season beyond the 14 weeks, of course, you're going to add a little extra, but here's what I've come up with. My phosphorus was high, and it was so much that they said don't add any pre-plant. Most time, even if you're doing plastic mulch, which is what I'm doing, plasticulture, you're still going to do a pre-plant. They say put out 50% of your nitrogen in advance, and all of your potassium, phosphorus, go ahead and incorporate that in the soil, make up your rows, and then all you've got to do is irrigate and add some nitrogen throughout the year. Well, I don't like that. Down in Warren, Arkansas, which is where there's a lot of tomato growers from my state, a lot of those will just use a strictly water soluble, and so that's what I'm going to do this year. And so to come up with what I need, I don't need to add any fertilizer with the phosphorus, or I'm going to be way too high. So I've come up with my formula this year, and I've already started it. I'm going to need about 5 ounces of calcium nitrate, which is 15.5% nitrogen, and 3 ounces of potassium nitrate, which is 13% nitrogen and 44% phosphorus. And I'm going to need that every day, or I'm going to need about 3.5 pounds per week. Now, I'm going to start off with a little less, and then when I actually get into fruit production, I'm going to go up to a little bit more. And then when I get towards the end of fruit production, I'll drop that down just a little bit. So that's going to be my formula this year. And what I may do is I may want to skip every other day. I may want to increase that to 10 ounces of calcium nitrate, 6 ounces of potassium nitrate one day, and then skip a couple days and do that again. But I've got my total for the week, and so that's what I want to do now. And one of the reasons I want to do that because I want to watch my moisture. And the thing about tomatoes, I've told y'all this before, you may want to go back and look at some other videos, is that you want to keep the soil moist. You don't want it too wet, and you for sure don't want it too dry. when you get it too dry, the calcium uptake is not enough and you wind up with blossom end rot. I've had this happen. And so that's why I'm adding a little extra calcium through the calcium nitrate to keep my soil calcium up there. And the best way for me, since you're under plastic, since you've got all your root and your ground under plastic, and I mean, you can put your finger down there and feel the moisture, but I like to use an irrigation meter. This is called a aerometer. It's a moisture indicator. It's also called a potentiometer. And what this does is this thing measures soil tension. Now you'll put a green liquid in here, mix that up, and this has a ceramic tip on it, very, very porous ceramic tip. And so that green moisture is going to be up in here. Get the cap on there, and this has got an indicator on here. Now when your soil is wet, this will read 0. When the soil starts to dry out, it will pull a vacuum. This ceramic tip here will start, moisture will start wicking away from this, and it'll pull a vacuum up here. Now the most I've ever seen this pull a vacuum is probably 60 to 70 for my soil. But when this gets down to around 30, it's time for me to irrigate. So if I start off with wet soil that says 0, as this thing comes up, 10, 20 to 30 pounds of vacuum, and I don't know if that's pounds or just an indicator, but when it hits the 30, I need to indicate. Most of the time, I will irrigate when it says 30, and the reason being, this can say 10 or 20 in the morning, and when you've got a heavy load of tomatoes by the end of the day, this thing is up to 30. And I don't want it getting up any more than that because you're putting stress on the plants. The moisture is not available. So since all your feeder roots are in the top 8 inches of your soil, that is where I want to keep it moist. So I will set this at about 6 inches, 7 inches in the soil, and then that tells me what my moisture is at that depth. And so I think if you'll get you one of these, if you're a commercial grower, I think it'll help. You may have some other methods, but I'm very meticulous about keeping my soil moisture where it needs to be so that those plants can get all the nutrients they want. And something else I want to hit on this morning is being up in the Ozarks here, the weather station that I use said that it'd be 43 last night. Well, because I'm in a little bit of a valley, I woke up this morning and I had 31 degrees. Now, I'm okay in the tunnel because I had everything, all the sides up and everything zipped up, I call it, boarded up. Everything was enclosed, and I haven't been down there yet, but I will assume that I had probably about 40, 41 degrees inside my tunnel, which is a little colder than I want, but I've got a greenhouse out here, and I went and checked it first thing this morning, and it said 41 degrees, so I'm pretty sure I was okay down at my tunnel. But that's awfully cool for the Ozarks. I've never seen it that cold this time of year. But like I said, I'm in a valley. Now my neighbor down the way, they may have had 38 or 40 or 44 because most of them are up on a little bit of a hill. But I'm really glad I haven't planted my vegetable garden. When you get down that cold on green beans and peas and stuff, that's a pretty lot of stress upon them. And so I'm getting ready here today and tomorrow to till up, and we finally got some dry weather, and I'm going to plant my vegetables starting in Sunday of this coming week. For the next 4 or 5 days, we've got a chance of rain every day. And it's just the way it is. Every area is different. And so this is just a wet spring for us. No stress on my part. It is what it is, and you deal with it. And even my blueberries, I think I reported on the 25th of April, we had 25 degrees. I probably lost half of my crop, but we're still going to have a crop. It's just the ins and outs of raising vegetables and fruits, and you're going to have some problems. So I'm going to stop right there. Second part of this video will be down in the tunnel, and I'll show you how everything's doing. Okay? Appreciate it. Okay, welcome back. This is part 2 of our video today. This tunnel was planted on May the 2nd. Today is the 13th, so that's been 11 days. And I just want to show you how these plants have done. Now, you can see I've got my stakes, and I've already put the first string on the bottom of them. And let me see if I can come down here and give you a little better view. You can see a little bit of they're up and going. I've given them 2 doses of fertilizer, and before the day's over, I'm going to give them another one. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to come over here and show you my irrigation. I think, don't think I've talked about this. This is called a Venturi. Now, these are available at all different brands of them. Mozzie was probably one of the first ones to come out with it. I bought that little black thing there for about 15 bucks off of Amazon, so there's some pretty cheap brands out there. And what it uses is differentiation in pressure. Hard word for me to say, but you see my valves there and one right there. And then there's the main valve. So you open up the 2 blue valves right there, let the water come through. I shut that one right there off, the red one. I shut it off. As water goes through there, it causes a suction, and I put my water-soluble fertilizer right there, and then it runs through the irrigation pipes. That's called a blue lay flat, because it collapses after the water's run out of it. And I put a 10 pounds pressure regulator right there, and these lines are these black irrigation lines are made to run at 10 pounds of pressure. They will run about a half a gallon per minute per 100 foot. And so I've calculated in this tunnel that I can run about 3 gallons of water a minute. And once the fertilizer is all sucked out and distributed into the field lines there, I let it run a few minutes, get fresh water in it, clean it out, and then I'm done. If I need more moisture, then I'll leave it on for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Right now, these plants are not using much moisture, and you can see I've got a rip in the plastic right here. That was my fault when I was laying it, but you can see the moisture in there. And this is why I told you in the earlier part of this video that I like to have a aerometer installed so that I can watch it, because you really don't get any visual on your moisture. You will occasionally on the sides here. Once I get to irrigating good, you'll see that side dirt right there. It'll come out from under the plastic, and then you'll actually see it in the dirt. And let me see if I can get down here and show you. Right there is the water line right here, so you can see how close it is. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for today. I'm going to do one hopefully tomorrow with my plastic mulch layer behind the tractor, and we'll see how that goes. See you next time.